Go on, tell it now.
There was a guy who was in a restaurant and he was on a first date and he wanted to impress his date, and Frank Sinatra was in the restaurant.
Yeah.
And he went over, and I think he was sort of moderately well known, this guy, so it wasn't like a total randomer coming up to Frank Sinatra. So he came up and said, "Can I have a very quick word with you?" He said, "I'm so-and-so, I'm a comedian or something." And Frank Sinatra said, yeah, what is it? And he said, "With this beautiful woman on my first date, I really want to pull. And if you could come just pass by the table and go hi, I'm going to pull." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Frank goes, "Yeah, I like the sound of that. That's fine, not a problem." So the guy goes back, has his meal. About 10 minutes later, Frank Sinatra gets up, walks past the table, and he goes, "Don, how you doing?" And he goes, "Frank, I'm eating." And I just think that's brilliant.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to episode 93 of I'm Fine, a chat around the subjects of health, wealth and well-being between myself, Damo, and someone who likes to send videos of people filling ant colonies. Colonies? Like there's Billy colonies? Oh god, shall I start again?
Go on then.
A chat around the subjects of health, wealth, well-being between... Take 3. This is a chat around the subjects of health, wealth, well-being between myself, Damo, and someone who likes to send videos of people filling ant colonies with concrete just before I went to bed. Mark.
Thank you. I don't know why I'm thanking you. It's
No.
just a description.
It was
I thought
probably
it was awesome.
the most random thing you've ever sent me, especially just before bedtime.
Did it get your mind racing? Because you disappeared fairly soon.
It was bedtime.
Yeah, okay.
I was ever so tired, and you sent me that, and I was like, "What?"
Amazing.
I was waiting for the COVID kind of vaccine-related,
Yeah, you got that
conspiracy
today.
theory bit to kind of kick in. Like, there's some ant conspiracy,
Yeah,
but it wasn't. It was someone who filled an ant colony
yeah,
with concrete,
yeah.
and then dug said concrete out. Well, didn't dig it out,
Dug
dug
the soil
around
out,
it,
yeah.
and went down about 8 meters
Mm.
to kind of reveal this elaborate set of
Labyrinth,
tunnels
wasn't it?
and
Chambers,
rooms and
yeah.
chambers. It was fascinating.
It was.
They even said they've got a place where they put their rubbish.
Yeah,
And they're clever, aren't they?
yeah.
Was there something you wanted to say about that kind of, or is it just, oh wow, look at this? Because we've done ants before on this pod, haven't we?
Yeah, there are a lot of time friends. I think it was, I've been
Or
listening.
milking, aphids milking.
Yeah, they farm aphids, don't they?
That's right, yeah.
That disgusted you at the time.
It did.
but
It still does. It still does now a little bit.
I think it's just part of my... I was listening to a podcast on consciousness, and I'm really, really struggling to understand consciousness.
Yeah.
This was in its deepest scientific...
This is just before bed as well. You don't have to put yourself through it, don't you? Just have a
take
sleep
life easy.
like everybody else.
And so I was struggling. So this discussion mentioned how far consciousness, and I'm not going to go into massive...
Too late. Tell us about consciousness, Mark.
No, because I still don't understand it. I'm still really, really struggling. There's a guy called, I think, Duncan Goff from Durham University, or Philip Goff. So the thing was, the guy on the podcast said, okay, we can accept that we have a level of consciousness because that's a given. We have a conscious state, we have an unconscious state.
Yeah.
We also react to things other than a purely zombie-like.
Yeah.
We have some subtleties and some nuances around the way we react to things.
Yeah.
And took it to the extreme, and the guy goes, has a table got consciousness?
There we go. Sounds like an art class.
Yeah, I'm going to be a tree.
Draw the table's consciousness.
So anyway, we went from there, and then we went back to going back up living things. And it reminded me of something else I'd listened to recently about, did I mention this, about ultraviolet light and pea plants?
In pea plants?
No, with pea plants.
No.
So an experiment was done. It didn't start as an experiment. It started as an observation, and someone observed something and thought, oh, there's an experiment here. Basically what it was they had a series of pea plants in a laboratory. And
Well, just randomly?
Well, no, in tubes. They weren't round. It was like straight line.
Is this before is this after they've decided to do the experiment?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
So they planted some peas. They grew into little plants, and then they provided a light source. I think it might have been ultraviolet light, but they provided a light source, and the pea plants turned themselves towards the light,
like it was the sun.
Yeah. Now that's understandable. That's a reaction. That doesn't display consciousness. It doesn't display any thought. In the same way that if you put your hand in a fire, you pull it out.
Yes.
You don't consciously go, "Oh, my hand's on fire. I'll have a think about it." So it's a reaction, isn't it?
Sure.
And this is the bit I couldn't quite understand from the description, whether it was by accident or by design, was that when this light was given, it was given via a computer. So the computer was turned on, the light came on, the pea plants went for that hour and came towards it. At some later stage in the experiment, and I think this is where it wasn't by design, they just came across it, is that when the computer was turned on, but there wasn't the light source, the plants continued to turn because the fan in the computer...
don't tell they recognised it.
They recognised the noise, so they weren't turning towards the light.
They went, "Hey, here comes the sunlight."
Steve Harley and the pea plants. And...
You're really proud of that one, your little face.
I was just trying to go, no, I can't go any longer. So, what they were saying is the plants didn't turn for the light per se. They reacted to the noise even when the stimulus of the light had been taken away.
Right.
So then you go, well, that's sentient. That's a plant making a decision.
Did they all hear it and did they make a collective set of individual decisions?
Yeah, they follow each other.
Or did they...
The headpiece or like... But do you know what I mean? That was really interesting, I thought. And then you get into the point of, so where does consciousness, is it like the smaller the being, the smaller the consciousness? And this is where I came to ants.
Yes.
And having seen that video about the leafcutter ants in Brazil, you go to yourself, because there was one thing, wasn't it, when they move, I think it's when they move soil to build it.
They moved like tons of the stuff.
Well, it was 4...
We'll put the video up so you actually hear the actual real things, the facts that they said.
But I think it was 4 times their body weight for a kilometre was what they were when they were moving the mud out of it. So that's me carrying 50 stone a kilometre and then walking back down and doing it again. Yeah. And I guess this is the bit I'm saying. It was when I've sometimes said about that we see ourselves as the top of the hierarchy. Those ants have got the most refined and infinite system. And they probably don't think there's anything outside the world of ants. They probably think, we're top of the pops.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can we be so opinionated to think that we're not ants to another human being just because we can't see something bigger than us? So that's the bit around, how come it just stops with us? Because ants are doing things we couldn't even do. You and I could not build what those ants build.
No.
Not if we had the rest of our lives.
Build a bigger version of it.
I just don't think using our teeth and even if we had 6 legs, we couldn't build that.
No.
So in that respect, ants are way beyond us.
We also have got 40,000 friends.
I've got 4.
That's right, they're going to give us a hand.
Yeah.
She sent me this link. What time? 22:46, bedtime that is. Mm-hmm. And I said, impressive. Do you think there are any dickhead ants? Or do they all get along? Perfectly perfect. You see where I was going with this. Ant and Dick was my funny. I thought it was funny.
Ant and King Dick?
Yeah. Might not make any sense if I haven't put that bit in the beginning about King Dick.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I'm going to have to edit now.
Mm.
And you went, puzzling intro, great punchline.
Yeah.
But you were puzzled by impressive, do you think there are any dickhead ants?
Yeah.
Why was that puzzling?
I just thought you were lining yourself up to say Ant and Dick.
Oh, no, it wasn't, no. No, it wasn't. It was just kind of a series of conscious thought that was pouring out of me into the chat.
So within the colony, do you think there was people who just go, well, fuck that, I'm going to watch Bargain Hunt?
Well, that was kind of my thing, because I was thinking about society and us and what we're doing, and what we're not doing, and how we'll come to this in a minute, how we're pulling each other apart. You actually put, I'm a dandy highwayman, Adam,
Mm.
Like a little... You were the Christmas Riddler in the last episode, weren't you? That was more riddles for you. That was good.
You got it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, yes, anyway, why do you send... I mean, this is deep diving down an ant hole. I thought that was another kind of funny little thing.
Because an ant hole is a real thing that we use quite a lot in everyday language. Yeah.
Yes. It's awesome. Shows my theory. We are just ants. If they can do that.
Did I write that?
Yes, you did.
You can basically see why I'm doing a novel. It's just going to be a collection of all my texts.
Short sentences that haven't got, a middle or an end.
Yeah.
Or any punctuation.
Yeah. That's why you disappeared?
No, there's more. I didn't just bugger off. I said, that's what I mean. We aren't not exactly hive mind, are we?
Mm-hmm. And Isn't hive mind a Twitter thing?
What?
Did you just say hive mind?
Hive mind. Did you not remember texting you last night?
I can't remember anything. I was on drugs.
Explain.
No, seriously. Did you say hive mind?
I did.
Is hive mind a thing?
Of course hive mind's a thing.
What is it?
It's where when different individuals think the same thing. As in like a hive, like bees.
But it's a thing on Twitter, is it?
What? Twitter?
I was listening to a podcast today and they referred to hive mind on Twitter.
Hive mind's a thing. It's been around for donkey's years. And you went, so I said, not exactly hive mind, are we? As in, we can't collectively, do things together in a harmonious manner.
We as in man.
Man.
Yeah.
Mankind.
Yeah.
And you put question mark. This is like 4 minutes past 12. Oh, I did go for a bit, didn't I?
Yeah.
I did disappear. Beg your pardon. And I said, they all work together for the greater good, no division. And you went, exactly. So you're back in the room. We're back on par now. We know what we're talking about. I said, no opposing views, harmony. And you said, but they can achieve the equivalent of our top achievements, and they are ants. So there has to be something higher than us, and we are ants to them. Yeah,
yes.
I know what you mean now. Ants don't know we exist, and I was like, well, I got to go to bed, but that is one hell of a bold statement. We could have a whole pod on whether ants know we exist or not, couldn't we?
Time to have a guest.
Yeah. Tiny little microphone.
40,000 microphones. And they'd all speak in unison. Do you know about humans? Yes. Raise 6 legs if you do. The whole house would shake, wouldn't it?
As their bodies hit the table. I'm going to carry on. Just the thread kind of carried on this morning. We'll probably come to this in a minute.
Yeah, okay.
But you said you sent me a thing about Novak Djokovic. We will come to this in a minute. And you said he's called Novak, right?
Yeah.
Well, I know. His surname is an anagram of COVID joke, but without the E. So just COVID jock.
Yeah.
Right. I thought that was funny. I just want to give our listeners an insight into the kind of things you send me during the day. I think I responded with something that you're probably not happy with, just a single emoji with the straight line mouth emoji. That's just like
shut it.
That's just what the fuck you want about. Yeah. We're all work in progress, and this podcast is no exception. In short, it's a poke at our perfectly imperfect lives, and if we can make just one person feel like they're not alone in all this madness, then our work here is done. You can follow us on Instagram at imfinecast and search for all of our episodes by category and tag at our lovely website imfinecast.com, and feel free to drop us an email at imfinecast@gmail.com. So this episode already has a title, which is quite rare for us. And it was born out of training this morning. Actually, if we go back to the last podcast, I think it was just before Christmas, we wished everyone a merry holiday, if you remember rightly, and I said I will see you in the morning, didn't I?
Yeah.
So cut to kind of me the next morning.
Yeah.
I was woken by a noise, someone banging their bins.
Yeah.
And I woke up and I looked at my alarm clock on the side of the bed, and it said 7:20. And I'm meant to be with you at 7.
You're going to be pushed.
And I was gutted. I don't know why I have no idea to this day why my alarm goes off every single day.
Yeah.
And it didn't, and I don't know why. And for a second I thought I was in a dream. I started texting you because I hate being late, and I just imagine you kind of sitting there with a tear in your eye, waiting for me
in my cold garage. Two cold coffees.
And I thought it was a dream because I have anxiety dreams like that where I'm late and I have to run to things. So I actually thought I was in that weird kind of shit, is this real or not? Anyway, we trained today for the first time since that was my first one back, wasn't it? Really?
Yes. Yeah.
And I turned up. You said some stuff. Blah,
Mhm.
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I went, but what's the point, Mark? Didn't I?
Yeah.
What's the point? You went, that is a really, really good question.
I think your intonation was different. I think
What's the point, Mark?
I think it was more a questioning of.
But what's the point, Mark?
Yeah.
Was that better?
Yeah. No, it was more. Yeah. If you're spouting all of this and it's true,
Yeah.
what's the point? Where is this going?
Yeah.
Which I think was really valid.
Yeah. And we've talked about it before, how we're all kind of, consumed by the antics of the world. And it's pretty much what's driving the podcast. And it's what the madness is, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I wrote down some things that were just bothering me.
Okay.
And these are things that we've talked about this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And undoubtedly you'll have something to say about each one of them.
I'll try.
So I'll try and get all the way through.
Without interruption.
We'll see how we go, shall we?
Okay.
I've got some questions. What?
Are we going to do them 1v1?
I mean, why not?
Okay. This is exciting.
I can say something and you can respond to it if you like. But
Hmm.
I don't want to be here all night.
No.
Right. Some questions
Okay.
that are things that are puzzling me. Like you were puzzling me last night.
Mm-hmm.
I was puzzling you. You know what I mean? Why are we repeat? Oh bloody! I get my teeth in. Why are we repeatedly told by world leaders and tennis stars, Rafael Nadal, that vaccination is the only way out?
Mm-hmm.
The only way out. The only thing that's going to stop this pandemic. Right? There's one. You're just sitting there very defensively.
No, not defensively,
Okay.
but yeah.
You have your arms
carry on.
crossed, but
Yeah.
that's the.
Okay.
Why are we hearing from the world's leading experts in virology and RNA vaccines via Joe Rogan and Spotify
Mm-hmm.
because they're being kicked off Twitter?
Mm-hmm.
Why are these experts, who let's not forget are pro-vaccine in general,
Yes.
getting thrown in with the anti-vaxxers and having any other view cast off as mumbo-jumbo, as our Prime Minister said today?
Did he?
Yes.
So it was his turn. I got it wrong then.
Well, no.
It wasn't a full frontal attack.
No, I won't play it, but it's on the BBC website. But he said, I haven't said this before, but, there are anti-vaxxers who are spreading mumbo-jumbo on social media.
Okay.
There are people who are spreading mumbo-jumbo,
Yes.
but there are also people who are spreading different views that are based on fact,
Yes.
which my point is they are getting thrown in with that.
Yeah.
There isn't, we've talked about gradation. There's no gradation. There's you're either in or you're out.
Yeah.
All right. Why are world leaders and ex-world leaders driving a wedge between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated,
Mm-hmm.
calling those who are unvaccinated, those through choice, idiots,
Mm-hmm.
and that they'll piss them off if they don't fall in line?
Hasn't been used by a French president since 1969. That
Was it well pronounced?
Yeah, it's a tricky one.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I hope I did all right on that. So why are these same ex-world leaders, war criminals,
Mm-hmm.
being handed the highest honours possible in this land that we call the United Kingdom?
Yeah.
That's puzzling to me.
Yes.
Why is the best tennis player in the world being made an example of in Australia right now?
Yes.
That is puzzling to me.
Actually being locked up in a quarantine hotel.
It's a nice one. But
No,
anyway.
this is
They put him in a shithole, have they?
the Daily Mail.
Let's make a proper...
The Daily Mail did I don't know if I took a photograph of it. It was brilliant. It was how to offend everybody in one go, and it was something like anti-vaxxer Djokovic. Yeah.
Yeah. COVID joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold up with refugees, and the refugees was in capital letters, as if to
Right,
go, he's
yeah.
actually with that lot
Yeah.
in cockroach-ridden hostel.
Yeah.
And there's this idea that he's, and I think it is a fairly shitty place.
Mm.
But I read something today from The Guardian that basically said...
For balance, you got
Yeah.
from Daily Mail to
Yeah.
Guardian like it.
The Guardian basically, who are funded by Bill Gates, massively funded by Bill
Let
Gates.
it go, Mark. Christ.
Why doesn't he get a personal trainer?
Is this the guy you described as a waterbed the other day?
Yeah, he's so sloppy. Do you know what I mean? Just...
Does he offend you? Would you like to take him on as a client?
Bezos is all jacked now.
Would you take him on? Bill Gates? Would you
I don't
train
think
him?
he'd take me on, would he?
Don't know.
The fact I'm not vaccinated might be reason enough.
Let's skip over that bit.
Yeah, there's no way he'd check. He wouldn't know. He wouldn't know how to check.
No.
No, the point. What was the point we were talking about?
Talking about Djokovic in prison, weren't you? You were talking about the Guardian.
Oh yeah, so the Guardian basically used some of the thing that you referred to there about Nadal.
Yeah.
Nadal going, I've got some sympathy for him, but he's a prick. That was basically what he said. He knew he had it coming, didn't
He didn't call him a prick. But
that was the quote.
I know what you mean. I think there's lots of people in the tennis, his fellow tennis players are probably, not saying very nice things about him.
Yeah.
Why are secondary school pupils wearing masks based on inconclusive evidence that was admitted to today? You were talking about that this morning. It was based on, the evidence was inconclusive, and they based that whole policy.
Has this come out now in the news?
Yes, it has. They've admitted that they were talking
so
shit.
Ahead,
you are. If only our listeners could have heard you.
Yeah.
Talking this morning. Whilst we pretty much go about our business and rack up almost 1 million cases so far this week.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those don't concern me as much because we've kind of talked about it's not, if people were dying like they were before, then there'd be a big pile, wouldn't there? A big pile of the bodies that they all talked about a few years ago. But it's not. So it's this kind of, you're doing that, but then there's this, and it just doesn't, nothing seems to kind of line up.
They had Grant Shapps on.
I'm not making any judgment about what we should and shouldn't be doing based on cases and death. That's not my territory, but it's not based on anything that's gone before. It certainly doesn't seem to be we don't seem to be learning from anything that's happened to then inform thing going for it. Seems like we're literally just making it as the needle's on the groove, right? We just seem to be making it up right in that very minute.
Yeah, well, Grant Shapps said today, the Transport Minister, first he was on, they were talking about the rises, because there's the lifting of the fuel cap, and prices are going to rocket. And he said, we've put in £4.5 billion of support. And he had it written down in front of him because his eyes kept going down. And the first thing he said is that we're going to have X number of people receiving the minimum wage of £9.50 or whatever it was. And I sort of thought, I don't think that comes as £4.5 billion of support. That's giving poorly paid people that are often doing jobs that have kept the country going enough money to barely get by on, and most of them who are £9.50 an hour still have to claim universal credit. Yeah. So I don't think you can claim that as a success. And then he listed the other things, and one of the things he said was, I think it's called something like the Warm Homes Discount. And he said, we're providing the Warm Homes Discount. And this was on Good Morning Britain, and Susanna Reid went, oh, and this was, somebody had done their homework so brilliantly. Right. She went, why are you mentioning that? And he said, well, that's going out to 2.2 million people. And she said, oh, I think we've got a clip. And they put a clip of Boris Johnson in the House of Commons yesterday in Prime Minister Question Time. And someone said, what are you doing? This price cap, people are their bills are going up. Some people's from 600 a year to 2,000. How are people going to pay for it? We're helping the most needy by providing this Warm Homes discount of £140 a week to 2.2 million people. Right. And I thought, that's good. £140 a week to 2.2 million people. So she then said to Grant Shapps, in your calculations, were you using the real figures or the Prime Minister's? And he went, it is £140. She said, it's one payment. So twice in the House of Commons yesterday, Boris Johnson said we are giving 2 million people £140 a week.
And it wasn't a week.
It isn't a week.
It's
once a year.
Right.
And so she said, was he lying? And of course he isn't going to go, yes, he's lying. But you go, how can you do that? Saying it once could be clumsy. Yeah. But to say we're giving, and then someone should have stopped him and going, what? £140 a week? Yeah. That's that's a wage.
And for how long?
Yeah. So I think, where was I going with this? I think. I
was talking about masks as my last point, and inconclusive evidence, and them admitting that they were wrong. The reason that you just kind of.
I've just wandered.
Yeah, it's all right.
Just wandered.
It's okay. You back?
Yeah, back in the room.
Come on, go have a sit down, have a cuppa. Excuse me. Why are they overlooking and penalising individuals with healthy lifestyles over those who haven't, because they take the decision to take the vaccine? We talk about this a lot, don't we? And this is kind of one of your gripes. And I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that the message of continue to destroy yourselves with fat, sugar, alcohol, nicotine, lack of movement, and anxiety, but take the vaccine, is less divisive and polarising than saying eat well, drink plenty of water, take vitamin D, get access to early treatments if you can, exercise, meditate, get out in nature, and take natural immunity over a vaccine. As, there are other reasons not to take them, but that's just an example. Someone like you might, you can't for medical reasons, but I think if you didn't have that, you probably still wouldn't.
No. Yes.
That's fair to say, isn't it? I know where you are on that.
I'm a bit like Novak in terms that I would not take it, but I think I don't need to justify me not taking it. I'm 100% feel that's the right decision based on masses of research and I think it was the point I said to you today, which I think, just going back to the masks thing, I think is a really interesting thing, that we've given 12-year-old children the right to decide categorically. And before anyone who's listening to this goes, he's talking bollocks, this is in Canada, this is in the UK, this is in a whole number of countries. A 12-year-old child has the right to decide whether or not they have the vaccine, independent of any decision their parents might make, unless there is a sort of earth-shattering medical reason. So they couldn't go, yes, I want to have the vaccine, and their doctor goes, but you have got such severe asthma and you're so immune suppressant that if you have it, you'll die. So they can't make that decision. And they have to prove that they have an understanding of the situation. Now, all schools have given the background to it, but it's obviously very vaccine.
Yes, that's the way they can have it, as you're saying, by having all the information.
Yes, they need to have the information to be able to
prove
say,
that they understand it.
Yes,
and therefore give consent.
Yeah. So if their parents are pleading with them and say, please don't have the vaccine,
yeah,
and they go, well, what I've done is I've done my research. We had a presentation at school and I've read this report. I understand what a vaccine is, and I understand
the risks.
Yes.
I imagine there also is probably part of that.
Yes.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
So that child can then have it. But if that same child 4 weeks later comes into class and says, I've had my vaccine and I took that for the reasons I took it, and I have also done my research and I've looked at the research that the government have posted on their website, and I've got an extract on it on my phone so I could read that out in a minute. Having read that research, there is no conclusive proof that wearing a mask will stop the spread to any particular degree, and that the potential risk to me in terms of my mental health and my masking is there's a whole number of studies on
it's too big to follow that through.
It isn't a big enough saving for me, so therefore I'm deciding I'm not going to wear my mask. I think that would be the most.
So, but you're saying they can't. They have to wear the mask. You're saying they can prove. I don't know. What's the word?
It's almost competency, isn't it?
Yeah, competency in understanding the vaccine to have the vaccine, but they can't do that to not wear a mask in class.
Yes. But I think they can. It happened in America.
Right.
A young girl, I've forgotten her name, was sent home from home 68 times for refusing to wear a mask based on that principle.
Right.
I think that would be a really interesting thing. And in some ways, it doesn't. Although my views on masks and the fact that we're still. There's another thing on the TV today going, which one, evidently in France and one or two others, everybody now in frontline is wearing the FFP2 or the 95s or whatever it is. I see
some people wearing that.
Yeah, which I discussed here weeks ago.
That's what I was going to say. It feels like the no smoking or the smoking section on an aeroplane that used to be the case. The smoke doesn't stop at the no smoking sign. Does that make sense? It's like if some people are going to do it,
if you're one row from the smokers,
if it's affecting 12 upwards, then a blanket. This is what everyone should do. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Even if it's a gesture, even if it's some kind of mark of I don't know, conformity or I don't know, whatever it is. It doesn't seem to be about the science. That's what I said. There's almost like 1 million cases so far this week, and there's only that section of our population, the people that aren't really at risk anyway from any hospitalisation or death, doing it. these are things that don't add up. I'm not the person to go into all the details and make a sensible counter argument to this. But
you're going to have.
If anything, my sensible counter would we all do it or we don't do it at all.
Well, you're going
that's because there's so many differences.
The science can't distinguish. That's the point.
Yeah,
you're going to have teams playing in the FA Cup. Are going to have crowds of 70,000 people all seated next to each other.
Yeah,
and you could go. It's outdoors. Some of these big stadiums aren't really outdoors. They're totally covered.
Then where they're not wearing masks, you've got vaccine, and you've got tests. Where they haven't not vaccinated, they've got tests. So there's other things that, and it's like it just feels like there's a buffet of things we could use, like pre-treatments, therapeutics, all those kind of things.
Well, it's like the vitamin D thing, isn't it?
Yeah, there's lots of things we can do. There's a whole stack of things we can do to help combat this.
Yeah.
But we're not being encouraged to use all the tools that we've got. I can't remember whether I covered it on the last pod. I think it's that.
Well, it becomes the binary decision, doesn't it? It's either the vaccine or your mumbo jumbo.
It's like the petrol car, which I did talk about the other week. Yeah. The petrol car and the battery. We've got to literally dump one and start the other. It's like, why do you have to do that?
Couldn't there be harmony like the
Why
ants?
don't you use? Yes, is kind of my point. That's my comment about the dickhead ant.
Yeah.
There's got to be someone that goes, why are we doing this? Shut up, Kevin. You're always complaining and moaning. We're all just doing it. We don't know why we're doing it. Yeah. We're the only ones that exist. That's all we know. Yeah. All those big people over there who haven't got 6 legs. They've got 2 legs.
But that was an interesting thing. Someone said to me the other day, what happened to LPG, liquid propane gas? And also, the camper van I've got runs on ethanol.
Yeah.
But there's nowhere to get ethanol. And also hydrogen can be used. And there's a whole number of different things. And I'm thinking,
that's kind of my point.
Everything in this world is binary, isn't it?
Well, it's getting that way.
Red ants, black ants.
Yeah.
Even the ants.
Yeah.
Everything is an either or.
Well, maybe because there isn't the grey with the ants, that they can build something so beautiful in so much harmony.
Mm-hmm.
And that there is a benefit and a greater good, whatever the reason they're on this planet for anyway, in building those beautiful structures.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever their reason in there. What's the point? I don't know, Kevin. Shut up. But it's because we're literally the opposite of that. Yeah. We're in absolute chaos. Maybe there's something. Maybe there's a bit of a message in that. My final point was come April, we're likely to get rid of up to 130,000 NHS healthcare professionals because they are not saving patients, but apparently putting patients in harm's way.
Right.
Well, by not taking.
Going back to my
we talked about it this morning, didn't we? Thing. That I was saying that. Well, I think we both came to the agreement that there's no way they can do it.
No.
I mean, they may do, and we all look stupid.
No, they can't.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But based on what's gone before, they almost have to follow this through.
No, they don't.
No, you know what I'm saying. We've said that. You say that the things that we've been getting into, we cannot stop doing, like mass, like testing. This is going to go on for a long time. You can't just stop it because it makes a mockery of everything that's gone before.
No, you can just stop it.
Okay.
You can just.
You got a glint in your eye.
Yeah, because I've been thinking about this a lot today.
Right. But we did agree on that. I think they'll be absolutely bonkers. So we'll have no one to clap, will we? If they do that.
Okay, so this is how it works out to me. The thing I was saying about Grant Shapps was that he had said in this discussion, they've been saying, good news for travellers. If you're vaccinated, you don't have to have the pre-flight test coming back into the country. Mm. And they said, why is that? And before he answered, I thought, I wonder what the answer is. Why would we not be testing people coming in? We were testing them last week.
Yeah.
Making a lot of money for private industry. Keeping us safe.
Cynical so-and-so.
No. Well, it's just the latest one's come out, hasn't it? Another one today about fraud and bribery and everything. So I was just thinking, why wouldn't they? And I was thinking, before he answers, I want to come up with the answer. So my cynical answer was, if you test less, then there's less cases.
Yeah.
If there's less cases, it's less of a danger.
Yeah.
If it's less of a danger, they've been successful.
Yeah.
Because vaccines have worked.
They're in complete control of the stats.
Yeah.
Aren't they?
So they've now reduced quite a lot the number of tests. They actually hit 2 million this week. Mm. So what they've done...
every day is a record. They keep telling you about it. It was a record. Fucking hell.
So
Guinness Book of Records are pissed off. They keep printing this thing every week.
So how I view it is that they've got to the point now where once you've got up to 250,000 a day,
Mm.
and no one in the world, or no one in Britain, seems particularly perturbed about this, but it's like, this is running rampant.
Mm.
And when they asked the Transport Minister, he said, because there's so much Omicron already, it doesn't really matter if they're bringing it in. That was his reply. It was like, we're swamped with it. It doesn't matter.
So what's one more? Come on.
And he was smiling as he said it. And I sort of thought, you've almost come over to our side.
I mean, he's got a point.
Yeah.
You're going to get it. It's almost like, who hasn't now?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to the point of, I actually don't know anyone, to a couple of people, to, you know, I got it. Did I say I'm a survivor? I might not have mentioned it. Long COVID as well.
I just feel so left out.
Well, some people are kind of going, well, why haven't I got, you know, all the people are all freshly boosted as well. Wallop.
So, this is my thinking after the discussion today.
Yeah.
We can't do more than 2 million a test, so we're going to run out of tests already. You can't continually print money to buy tests from China.
Of course you can. That's what we've been doing.
Yeah, that's true. That was a bad phrase. So this is my point. We've got now to this critical stage in terms of sheer numbers. The NHS is struggling because it's the middle of winter and this happens every year. COVID is seasonal. I put something the other day.
You're coming out with some wild kind of things today.
But this has been decided. Everybody knows it's seasonal. And I came out with something about the 40-degree latitude some time ago on one of my Insta stories and going, these are the countries that are top 6 out of the top 7. They were all on the same line of latitude.
Yeah.
If you go from us, it was sort of Britain, France, Belgium, Germany, Holland. It's just that line.
Yeah.
That's what happens with SARS as a disease. It's the latitude. It's also related to the amount of sunlight, which is related to the amount of vitamin D.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why this isn't running rampant in Africa is because of the latitude of Africa. Because if you think about it, hardly anyone there has had the vaccines. No one there has had the booster. They have the worst sanitation in the world. They're the poorest nations in the world. All the things, they haven't the facility to wash their hands every 2 minutes in a lot of the poorer countries.
Yeah.
They don't randomly wear masks in the same way we do.
Yeah, right.
And it hasn't run rampant.
Yeah.
And I'd like someone to go, why? One of the things I heard was,
firstly, we all would, but we know we're not going to hear that.
Yeah. Firstly, ivermectin is used
old Ivor.
massively throughout Africa.
Or Mr. Mectin, as I like to call him.
And the second thing that someone said is they're just a bit hardier than us. A lot of the countries there don't have mass obesity. A lot of the people there work on the land. A lot of the people have immunity because they're not.
I was talking about my stomach condition that I had yesterday.
Yeah.
And when I first had it, and you start to look it up, and people refer to it as an old lady's disease.
Okay.
Right, diverticulitis, which, you know, women in later life, you know, statistically get it more than anybody else. And it's also described as a Western disease. And the people say, well, in other third world countries or poorer countries, they don't get it because of their diet. But you could also argue that they don't live long enough to get it, which I also, when I started to read round the whole subject. So, you know, another kind of stat, kind of, you know, when you actually kind of look at it properly, there's a reason why. Yeah, it probably has a lot to do with diet. Yeah, but it also has a lot to do with lifestyle and
there's a whole
length of life.
Definitely. Yeah. So going back to my thinking after our session, so all the things are, if you had to predict, and to be honest, this isn't retrospective. We have said things over the last few months. We have said things over the last few years. If you had to predict when this was going to peak, it had to be the winter. We know it has to be the winter. That's why you get your flu jabs in October, November. So that's number one. There was always going to be more. The NHS is always under more pressure in the winter. That's number two. So all the stuff now. And what is bound to happen is come April time, winter finishes and we traditionally go into spring.
If I'd have said that, you'd have ripped me a new one, wouldn't you?
We traditionally go into spring. And so what is bound to happen, 100% bound to, is that cases will drop because there will be sunlight, there will be more vitamin D, there will be warmer temperatures. It cannot live as well as it does during the winter time when it likes the moisture and the cold. Therefore, numbers will go down. And what's happened already, we're seeing that testing is going to be reduced already. PCR test, if you have a lateral flow, not happening.
That's starting now.
People coming in. So what's going to happen? We're in the middle of January. Very slowly, the tests are going to go down from that 2 million. I guarantee after the next week or two, there won't be 2 million tests a day.
Yeah.
So you will find less COVID. People are testing less. So the numbers will come down steadily. By the time we get to March, or even in February, I think instead of 250,000, we'll be back down to tens of thousands. And Mr. Johnson can then stand up and go, we've weathered the storm. We've got through the winter.
Yeah.
No one's got it. No one's dying. The NHS is coming back. And it's going to be his Falklands. It's going to be his, look what I've done. We were on the verge of collapse. We had 250,000 people a day.
And then we'll then start handing P45s out.
No, because what he'll do is going to.
That's what I mean. It wouldn't be his Falklands if he started doing that.
No. So what he will do, and I'm so sure of this, I'm so sure, he will say, we have done this from a concerted effort. We have done this like the ants.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Everybody has done everything. And because of what you've done, not the fucking anti-vaxxers, but you nice people, because of what you've done and taken the vaccine, worn your masks, been heroes and worked from home.
I'm going to be sick.
All those things, you have saved this country from 250,000 a day. And what's going to happen because of that is that we're going to work with the NHS and work with those people that aren't vaccinated to continue that they can see.
Torture them until they say yes.
No, just put out something about.
So we're going to save the thing that we've spent the last 2 years clapping. Is that?
He has to.
But are they going to? Is he going to give all the credit to us?
Yes,
not us. You're right. The vaxxed, not the great unwashed.
And this came from two things. Alan Sugar was on the television yesterday, and they asked him a question.
Apprentice is coming up, isn't it? Yeah. And
they asked him a question about something to do with COVID, because of course Karen Brady was the one that said unvaxxed should be shot. I think I'm quoting now. I might be wrong, but it was similar.
You're never wrong. So I mean, let's just take that as.
Or Dame Karen Brady, obviously, because that's what she is now, isn't she?
Oh, has she got one as well?
I think she got it a little while ago.
Services to The Apprentice, or services to Alan
the
Sugar?
Slaughter of unvaccinated.
Not to the services of football management or football,
directorship. West Ham didn't give it to her. They asked him some general question about. Oh, that was it. They said, when so and so was on The Apprentice, she was running a cafe last year. How has she coped? That was the question.
Yeah.
And the answer should be, she's battled well. I gave her 250,000 and she's done all right for herself. And he said, before I talk about this woman, I just want to say something. And he gave a Churchillian speech on the One Show, saying, what has happened is that Britain has pulled together. We've had the bulldog spirit. Everybody in this country, and then he sort of hinted most people in this country,
apart from them lot,
have done the right thing, and that's why we're getting through this. And as long as we don't have any lockdowns again, which I know we won't, then we will come through this. We have been stronger than any nation. And he gave this sort of soapbox speech, and I thought that's laying the ground. He was on the One Show. He was invited to talk about someone who owned a coffee shop.
Yeah.
And he said, it's down to this country. And what I think we're going to have is a host of jingoistic.
Is that a word? Jingoistic? I mean, you're good with your vocabulary, but I'm going to have to call you up on that one.
No, jingoistic is a word.
Right.
And this is just, you know how these things snowball and you say we get in a groove. It's like suddenly everyone decides. There was a question today, I think, in the House of Commons about would it be possible to play the national anthem every day on the TV? That came up today.
Right.
An MP raised that as a question.
They used to play at the end of the broadcast, didn't they?
Yeah,
Every
I
night.
guess now it's 24 hours. You don't have a...
Yeah, the poor guy who puts the record on lost his job years
ago. And the woman
ago.
with the balloons and the clown.
Yeah.
The point I'm making is, and this is the final...
You're saying either the wheels are coming together to engage, the cogs of the gearbox are all starting to kind of connect, and it's all going to start dropping in place.
Because you cannot survive if you sack 120,000 people.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, last little bit, I'll tell you for why. Today, Gloucester Infirmary declared a critical incident, which is a status that you have when you can't match some of your basic needs within a hospital. And the local news said, this is the situation as we understand it in Gloucester Hospital. There was 5 people, though they said there was 114 people with COVID in the hospital. 66% of that 114, so probably 70, 80 people, had come in for something else and had subsequently either been found to have it or caught it in the hospital.
Yeah.
And what they said was they may require some treatment for that, but they were in for other
Something
things
else.
like broken legs or appendicitis or whatever it was. So we're talking about 34 people that had come in with COVID as their presenting problem. Of those, 5 were receiving a higher level of critical care. The same time at the height of the pandemic, it was 38 people. So it's a seventh of the people. And they brought on the chief executive of the health authority and they said to her, "You've caused the critical incident." And the woman sort of went, "There's only 5 people in critical care."
Yeah.
Also, sort of, why is that an incident? Not in a rude way, but just going, you've only got 5 COVID people that...
I'm the only one on duty. Is that what they said?
Yeah.
It's just me here.
And what she said was, her reply was, "We have 200 people in this hospital that shouldn't be here. And they cannot leave to go where they need to go."
Right, okay, well, I didn't think you were going there.
They cannot go home, probably because someone there is infected or has to isolate or isn't in a position to receive a sick person back.
Care homes could be shut.
Care homes are shut, or the social care plan can't be written because there aren't people in social care to write what's going to happen for when this person is released, and you have to have a plan in certain instances.
There's probably loads of other things, isn't there? That,
And probably someone to drive them there or whatever, or to get equipment out if they need specialist equipment. But she said the problem isn't the 5 people, it's 200 people that we have to look after who shouldn't be in this hospital.
Who've got nowhere else to go.
And that's because they sacked 50,000 social care staff.
I was going to say they can't.
So the infrastructure has now been blocked. There's nowhere for people to go. That's what's going to happen with the nurses. If you get rid of 120,000 nurses, it'll just block. So 100% the numbers are going to go down.
So actually the problem isn't COVID there.
No.
But it is, but as a knock-on, something that happened late last year, or was it October time, wasn't it? I think the kind of the social care and healthcare non
at the end of the year,
NHS.
people went, they were given time. And that was the interesting thing, and we said this on a podcast, because I said it was April the 1st, which is like the date.
Yeah.
Why would, if these people are such a risk, why have you given them 6 months?
Because they're not going to get rid of them before the peak seasonal time.
The argument was, we've given them that amount of time so they can get vaccinated.
You didn't give anyone else the...
Well, no, this is the thing. That was back in the day when you had to have it, wait 12 weeks, have it, wait 6 months.
Yes,
You can concertina them all together now. You can have
that's true.
all 3 of them in about 4 months. Therefore, why are you continuing to have unvaccinated staff if they're so dangerous?
That's absolutely right.
So that's where the science is different. You can't say they're okay for the next 2 months.
Like I said to you this morning, are they going to go back and give all those other healthcare workers their jobs back?
I think
all those charities that have lost healthcare workers and support workers, and
I think they're going to have. Well, they'll do it with the NHS. The other stuff is less visible, isn't it?
Everyone else just bugger off, but one of the problems you've talked about is that people can't go to, anywhere that provides any of the healthcare that they need. All sorts of elderly conditions, all sorts of things. And it's not just elderly care homes. There's adults with learning difficulties who need specialist care, and that has to be done outside of the hospital, by councils, by charities, and all that kind of thing. That has been completely decimated.
Yes.
So all those people have had to either go back to their elderly parents or just be looked after by hospitals. And they've made. But I totally agree they can't do it. But
this is where the final.
Are they going to go back on it?
I think what they'll do with that, social care is the poor relation in the healthcare service. No one has really. There hasn't been any marches in the street for 50,000 people on minimum wage.
There's not been marches for lots of things, isn't there?
But this is the final piece of the jigsaw, and this was such a light bulb moment for me. When the Transport Minister was asked I'm going to repeat what I just said and explain why they're not doing tests. He went, it's everywhere. What does it matter in a way if you're coming back with it?
Yeah.
You know, if you're coming back, do your lateral flow when you get home.
You go into the process that we've got.
Just enter the process. But when you're coming in, we're not going to put you in a quarantine hotel because we're just not, you know, it's...
Yeah.
And that was the final piece of the jigsaw for me, because if you're saying something that has been categorically put up as this has to be, everyone has to be tested, no one can come into this country. You've now said people can come into this country basically with this disease.
Yeah.
And we'll welcome you in and you don't have to quarantine, but look after yourself when you get home. That's either saying that the disease now is not important enough to worry about.
Yeah.
Which it could be, because you could go, well, you've got 250,000, but why are you letting another 250,000 in? You could be saying that.
Yeah.
Or what you're saying is, this is how we're going to live with it. That you come in and we're not going to put you in a quarantine hotel for 2 weeks. You're going to go home.
Because they cannot say it even suggest that it's slowing down or being eradicated. They have no idea. Do you know what I mean? You know, because I think they'd love to be able to go, we've cracked it.
Yeah.
But only the people that, you know, the part of the greater good, everyone else can go and sit in the corner and think about your actions. It feels like there's, you know,
but it's just going to fizzle out. It's going to be like a sad firework that will explode, and it'll just.
And what, we won't ever see a case again, or
it'll just. People are bored with it. People are bored with it.
That's not science, is it, Mark? That's just
no,
God.
But it's behavioural science.
Yeah. Okay. Better dues.
There's no protests. There's also no clapping.
Everyone's just realised that everybody realised that protests don't work. Clapping doesn't really work either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No one's doing anything except going, it's not that bad and you've just got a bit of a cold.
Yeah.
It's almost that we've got to that saturation point, and I think what's going to come in is the government are going to go...
And most people have had it it twice, haven't they?
And the government are going to go, you guys were awesome, you were brilliant, because we've been told how brilliant we are, whatever we do. You know, people working at home are heroes, people who are wearing a mask.
I've listed a lot of things there, just, you know, amongst other things, and we haven't talked about other stuff, have we?
Yeah.
You know, and certain billionaire individuals. But that's kind of confusing enough to kind of go, where's all this going? What's the agenda?
Mm-hmm.
And then if it is the case that we're just going to go, we're bored of it, which I think is a good point. Do you want to do a test? Because you're saying,
yeah, sorry for spitting over you there.
It's only got to the point where we're just going to get on and live with it and take it on the chin, which is what a lot of people were saying right at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what a different situation it might have been. I still kind of go, well, if it becomes very quickly something of the past, I remember those couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
I was still asking what was the point in a lot of those things. A massive waste of money. Is it one big social experiment? You know, talk about behaviour, you know, behavioural science and behaviour change. You know, it's one of the biggest kind of behaviour change exercises ever happened in the history of man.
Yeah.
You know, there's lots of things I can go, well, it could be all sorts of things. We even talked about, you know, depopulation this morning, and that's that is a real stretch. But when you start to piece some of the things together, you go, well, it's not a bad shout. And just a quick note on that, the Dr. Malone interview on Joe Rogan is being banned left, right and centre apart from on Spotify, so it's definitely worth going to have a listen to.
Twitter are putting it, YouTube are putting it back up.
Are they?
Yeah, because I think they've realised what we said this morning. Once you ban something,
everyone wants it a bit more.
To see it,
yeah, so I think that's definitely worth, you know, having a look at and you know, then there has links to kind of depopulation and that kind of thing, which is terrifying. And that, you know, I saw something the other day you said, what's the difference between a conspiracy theory and reality? About 6 months, which is kind of your point.
Yeah. Yeah.
It used to be 12 months, but it's got a lot quicker. It's got a lot quicker now, isn't it? So I guess it's still that maybe they just don't know what they're doing. You know, maybe we look to them.
You've said that for quite a lot, though, and when I've had discussions with Matt, you said the same.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily, you know, I certainly don't trust them all, but there's still that element of they must know better, right? They must know better. When experts in their field, like I said, you know, Malone and McCulloch and all those kind of people are being kind of strong-armed off media, you start to kind of go, who's running this? Is it a kind of a secret world government? Or you start to go, well, who is in charge of this? It doesn't seem to be the people that we see every day.
Mm.
And then you have glimmers of, actually, they're quite smart. And then you have more glimmers of, they haven't got two brain cells to rub together. I mean, there's mostly, they're actually, I think there are some very intelligent people in government, but they don't ever seem to, they demonstrate that.
They're very rarely on the TV, aren't they? The clever ones. I think the social experiment thing.
And then sometimes you hear them, you go, well, that is what we I just find it so hit and miss, and it's like, they're not even consistently wrong.
It's not strategic,
they're not
strategic.
consistently right.
No.
They're not even consistently right and wrong in equal. It's so scattergun, and nothing seems to kind of. I can't quite pin what it's all about. What is the point? Which is back to the whole point of this. What's the point of this podcast?
Well, going back to what is the point. So one of the things is that if you look at the figures, say for Australia with this whole thing with Djokovic, you look at Australia, they've had them and New Zealand have had the most strict and extreme rules in the world. People are clear on that, and their deaths have been very low, but at the cost of obviously a massive loss of civil liberty. Yeah. But in the last few weeks, their cases are now, is it 17,000 a day, going up from?
Is that all?
Yeah, but it's like it's a straight. The graph has gone straight up.
Yeah.
So someone was saying it's like you can keep it down for so long, but you have to. The idea of the total lockdown, probably will stop it, but. The lockdowns
China are proving that works, but they are tying people to trees and parading people around.
Yeah,
you'd be paraded round, wouldn't you, with a big sign on? You would. Have you seen that?
No.
They're parading people who have gone out and broken curfews and isolation.
Okay.
They put them in a hazmat suit and they've marched them.
Okay.
Through town, making an example of them.
Okay.
They tied some person to a tree so they didn't run off.
Yeah.
And then I mean, it's extraordinary what they're doing.
Is this from Chinese media?
No, it's for the BBC now covering it.
Crisis actor.
Billions of them. Yeah.
It'll be a tree in like the Bullring in Birmingham, won't there? There'll be buses going by. Chinese citizen type.
Yeah.
But no, the situation is that I think what they're finding in Australia is that you can keep it down if your lockdown is so, that you just cannot move.
Yeah.
But you have to move at some time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it will explode. So that was one thing. But the second thing that I put up yesterday on one of my Insta stories was about Italy. And this concerned me because firstly, it was everybody over 50.
Mm.
Now, Greece had everyone over 60 who was unvaccinated had to pay a monthly direct debit to the government for being a dickhead, basically. That was the only thing.
Being a dickhead ant.
They've been a dickhead and putting, this was the thing that got my go, putting a potential pull on the health service. Mm-hmm. So what they said is, you're over 60.
You're being taxed.
Yeah, you're being taxed for making that, or not making that decision.
Yeah, for being a burden.
For being a burden. Mm-hmm. And that then comes to the bit, well, if they're smoking 40, 40 a day, and if they're massively obese and blah, 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 blah. So you're just picking one thing, but you're basically be given a fine for being over 60 and choosing to be unvaccinated. And that's until you die. You pay that monthly, about 107 quid, I think, you pay to the government. So that there is a financial cost for making that decision.
And also there's, it's so dangerous to be unvaccinated, you weren't going to last very long.
Yeah.
That's not a very good money-making exercise, is it? Yeah. You think they'd have picked something where...
Yeah.
That's quite smart. They know deep down nobody is going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Cha-ching.
But the Italian one is that it's anyone over 50, and there's a big difference between 50 and 60 in terms
Don't
of...
tell me. Hold on. Give me 10...
No, don't use your 10
years.
Use your phone. Yeah.
Am I right?
So firstly, 50 was interesting that was chosen.
Mm.
But if you're unvaccinated in Italy from, I think, the middle of February, you basically are going to be really restricted and probably not allowed to work. That's the sort of punishment. And
even from home?
Well, this is the interesting thing, because it's only just come out. The small print basically said, you're not going to be sacked,
right,
but you're not going to be paid. So you're sort of going to be...
a slave.
Suspension. I don't think you'd work. I don't think anyone would work for no money.
No.
But it's basically another fine, because it's saying you've still got your job, you just can't go to or receive remuneration for it. And that's like,
bizarre.
well, I'll leave and do another. No, you can't do another job either. So it's making you financially.
So what's your concern then? That it's kind of it's coming here? Because if you listen to the I'll put a link to the Boris's his thing earlier. He's still in that interview said, you know, we're not going down the road. I think it might have been outside of this interview, but it was in the text. We're not going down the routes of coercion.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep it to he's encouraging people, but it doesn't sound, at the moment, it doesn't sound like he's going to make it mandatory.
I don't think he is. What I'm saying is I think, we've said this before, it's almost like the roles were divided up and Central Europe, or the mainland Europe, has consistently been the one area of the world where the harshest, I mean, I think it's not necessarily Serbia, but it's one of those countries around that Eastern Bloc. Basically, people are under house arrest. There's several countries in Eastern European where you can't buy petrol if you're unvaccinated. And people are going like, I can't do anything. I can't. And you're only banned from, you're only allowed to go to food shops.
I don't know, I'm just laughing. Doctors. It's not funny. It's just, it's so bizarre, isn't it?
But this has been a Central European thing. This isn't happening in Africa. It isn't happening in India. It isn't happening in Russia.
My colleague of mine's just come back from Germany. Yeah. And every shop, everywhere you go, vaccine, you have to prove you've been vaccinated and wear a mask in there.
Yeah.
Otherwise you can't even go shopping.
Yeah. So we've got that in Central. So we've said this before. We're sort of playing Canada has jumped on, but we know Trudeau and Macron politically seem to make very similar decisions.
You never see them in the same room, do you, those two? I'm sure they're the same person.
Because I put something on my Insta about Trudeau, wasn't it? He was basically saying the unvaxxed, you sort of deserve to die. It was like really sort of like...
Yeah, it was that Macron who said you're not a French citizen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Bizarre.
So we've got that. So we've said this. We've been saying this for months. There's people are playing. So Australia and New Zealand
are playing their roles.
Mm-hmm. You've then got Central Europe playing their roles, which does have echoes of past fascist states. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that Italy was a fascist state, and putting in very coercive and a lot of othering going on of unvaxxed. Othering.
That's a really good word. It is, yeah. The dividing, right?
Yeah, and it's.
Oh, that was right. It comes from. Doesn't it come from the war?
Yes. Yeah.
Or
it comes from the whole sort of dehumanizing thing as well.
So, like I say, even kind of masks played a part in that.
Yes.
By dehumanizing people, not being able to see what their facial expressions and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was easier.
And if you give them a name, a derogatory name,
it
makes them less of a human and easier to persecute.
Yeah.
Broadly.
And it is interesting how anti-vax comes. I'm not anti-vax.
No.
But it's two things that happened. The World Health Organization changed the definition of vaccine in the middle of this pandemic. It's really interesting that was changed.
Oh, they did do that.
In order to make it be called a vaccine, it didn't meet the previous definition of vaccine, and they didn't want to call it gene mutation therapy because it's not as catchy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think certain countries are playing certain roles, and I think our role is a bit about, and we mentioned this again, Johnson as the court jester. Yeah. It's just we're just faffing about doing stuff. I don't think they could have trusted him with a role. Do you know what I mean? Just be a clown.
Yeah.
Play to your strengths.
Blimey.
Just keep talking about wallpaper. Have a few kids.
So there might be a point, and there might not be a point. That's what I'm kind of taking from this. There might be some kind of big agenda. Yeah, we may even kind of talk about it again, but you can start to look at climate change. We talked about soil this morning. We talked about it quite a lot, didn't we?
Yeah.
So like, why are people buying up land? Why are people? I don't know. Why we all kind of been why things been obfuscated? I guess. Why we're kind of being confused. Why we're kind of look over here.
Yeah.
And while we're doing that, something else is going on, isn't it? And you kind of think, oh God, what is it? Are they all joined up, or is it just lots of people not knowing what the hell they're doing?
Yeah.
I mean, I've always said we're all winging it to a certain. We're all making it up as we go along. It's the first time we've all done this.
Yeah.
I'd think, unless you're a believer in reincarnation and all that kind of thing. That's right, isn't it? It's the first time you've done you, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the first time you've done
the
amount of years in your what?
No, I was just going to say the definition of the universe being infinite means that everything that's ever been done has been done
That you
already
can't-
or will be done in the
Back to
future.
consciousness that
Exactly.
you're conscious of.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is the
yeah.
first time you've done this. You're
Yeah.
probably doing it infinitely in other
Yes.
realms,
Yes.
quantum realms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. So in another quantum realm, everything is exactly the same.
Yes.
We're sat here.
Yes.
You just don't have a hat on. Imagine that. And then in another one, everything is exactly the same. And your hat is turned slightly
Yeah.
to the left
Yeah.
by 2 millimeters.
Yeah. And one
Shall I
will be
keep
exactly
going
the
for-
same
for-
as this. Yeah.
Infinitely.
It's not all about hats.
No. Oh, gosh, where are we, Mark? Pull all that together.
Okay.
For Jerry Springer kind of final summing up, please.
So I'm going
Because
to...
I'm lost. I'm still confused. I'm still puzzled and confused.
Right. I'm going to read an email that Amelia sent out today
Exciting.
because it's in complete contrast to what we've just discussed.
Is it is it in complete contrast? Is it relevant?
Yes.
Oh, great.
So Amelia has been doing these emails 2 or 3 a week.
I don't subscribe to you, sorry.
No, that's okay.
That was to her, not you.
Yeah.
I subscribe to you in every way, Mark.
She hasn't advertised. I think I said to her the other day, at the end of your email, it doesn't tell you how to subscribe to your email, which is like a basic marketing fail.
You don't... someone who gets the email, you don't tell them how to subscribe.
No, you would if someone goes, oh, if I went to you, oh, here's a thing from Meals PT, and you went,
There's no forward to a friend.
I mean, yeah, no, you could look at her address and I could go,
Does she need help with it? Does she need help?
No, the reason I'm saying this, I just read this. I was at the gym tonight and I just took a couple of minutes out to get a breather and decided to look at this. Why I think this is relevant is the point, the whole thing about what's the point of this. We've been talking about how it's very, very difficult to make head or tail of the world per se. And I think this discussion hasn't been trying to go, there is a cabal of lizards running us. I think...
Yeah, it's next episode.
Yeah, I think I've tended to agree with what you've said and what Meta's said to me every Friday is like...
So Matt is one of your clients.
One of my clients.
And he's a big fan of the pod, isn't he?
Yes, but he's our sort of critical friend in a constructive way.
Right.
And he would go, do you really think they can get their shit together to make it this, this sort of bigger conspiracy?
Yeah.
Because there's been hundreds of conspiracies.
But also sometimes I think, it's so ridiculous. It feels like it's planned. Not like, we talk about piss up in breweries. It's a phrase we use here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Couldn't organise a piss up in a brewery, but there's an element of that needs, piss in a brewery. I know the whole point of it is it doesn't need any organisation, right?
Yeah.
But you kind of do.
Yeah.
You need to get people there. It just feels like this is so. It's just like God. How if you did this, if you planned it and executed it, that's a lot of work. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
This confusion and ineptitude doesn't come easy, right? It takes effort to fuck things up. It does in a way. But and to keep up a pretense and like I said, obfuscates. I love that word, but it's just a good. That takes effort, doesn't it?
It does, and I don't think the people in charge are able to do. I think I've maybe overestimated how conniving and how controlling and everything they can be. I think some of this is just sheer lunacy that they don't understand what they're doing and they make a decision. And I've been really interested recently in the Jimmy Savile thing. And
Monkey Jimmy Savile curveball.
Yeah. No, the reason I'm bringing it in...
Did you send me a picture of him and Tony Blair?
Yeah. It's bound to be with Tony Blair, isn't he? He went to Chequers for Christmas for 10 Christmases in a row.
Savile?
Yeah. Anyway, I saw a clip of him.
Right.
I saw a clip of him on Have I Got News For You? When it was Angus Deaton in the chair. And Angus Deaton said to him...
Oh, when he was on that shit. That was a...
Have you seen this?
I've seen the episode because they repeat it when all that shit came out about him.
And this made me just take a breath because Angus Deaton goes to him, didn't you used to be a wrestler once? And he did, Jimmy Savile back in the day. And he went, yes. And then he went, used to, like that, Jimmy Savile.
Right.
And Angus Deaton goes, yeah, what do you mean? He went, that's why I'm banned from every girls' school in the country. And
yes,
Ian, what's his face, looks at him, and there's a female MP, it might even be a young Diane Abbott actually, looks at him as if to go, you've basically said you're a risk to children on national TV, and half the audience were laughing, and you go, this is this plain sight thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's basically said, I wrestle, I abuse young women.
Well, you just watch the top of the Pops clips back.
Yeah.
So yes, anyway.
So the thing from
Amelia's
Amelia, what made me think was that in some ways, I feel this discussion hasn't been doom and gloom and going, the whole world is, going to hell in a handcart. It's like, let's just look at what's going on. Maybe it isn't totally organised. Maybe it isn't, the whole World Economic Forum planning every move. Maybe it's just governments doing what governments do.
Well, hopefully, and if anything, we've kind of, because a lot of the points I've made was about driving a wedge between two.
Yes.
We talked about othering.
Yes.
That is happening. And in this last week, since we last recorded, that has gone up a level.
Yeah.
Hasn't it?
Yeah.
Leaders calling people names.
Yes.
Got a little bit playground.
Yeah, it has got playground. And this was part of the whole thing that Malone said. It becomes, you end up having playground politics of calling people, poo face or something. Do you know what I mean? It's that sort of level, isn't it?
No, you are.
You piss me off. No, you piss me off.
Yeah, because they're kind of encouraging this polarization, which the black and white, getting rid of all the grey.
Yeah.
Yet the things I just talked about, you don't have to do very much work to kind of go, here's every shade of grey between these two poles.
Yes.
You don't have to read up much about it. If you've got, hopefully we've got a bit of common sense between us two to kind of go, well, if that is that and this was that, what is
the bit in the middle is probably
the
bit you want.
You just keep slicing it, right? And there's all these things in the middle, and that is the, I guess, the dichotomy, is that of what's going on now. It's duplicitous. I can't even say it.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's gone to a place where it hasn't been. There's lots of things that are the same. There's lots of new things. There's a handful of opinion and information, and yet, there's this kind of big divide right down the middle, and it's like, all the wankers over there. Remember that joke? And the bloke walks into the pub, goes, right, all you lot over there are wankers, and all you lot over there are twats. And this bloke goes up and goes, I'm not a twat. And he goes, well, get over there with the wankers then. It's that.
Yeah.
That you can't go and sit in the middle and go, I'm not quite sure.
Or
let's discuss this.
I'm not really sure I'm a wanker. It's
Betamax,
isn't it?
Yeah.
They were both fine.
Yeah.
They both had their strengths.
Well, Betamax was a better quality mark, but we all know that, don't we?
Yes, but it didn't win the day.
No, it didn't.
It was Sky and it was BSB and it was everything is either or.
Yeah.
It was America and Russia going to the space race. Yeah. It's Pfizer or it's Moderna. Yeah. It's interesting, everyone else seems to have disappeared.
Yeah. Remember AstraZeneca? I've got the vintage one. Mine must be worth something, right?
Fine wine.
I've just got one of them. What have you got?
So everything is becoming really binary, isn't it? It's everything. It's red or blue in America. Yeah. In this country, I think.
But there's more and more questions, and there's more and more answers, and there's more and more digging.
Yeah.
It's not getting any clearer.
But if we went between those two, you'd find the answer, I think.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm kind of in there, just going, I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah. I think the difference between vaccine and unvaccinated might be vaccine for a lot of people, a whole number of other interventions for some other people. Some people might need a vaccine and
we're back to the buffet of options, aren't we? Yeah. They're all out there. We're just not being given them all.
And this was, just before I read Amelia's little bit, someone was saying about mental health and about the brain, and this resonated with me. And my daughter, who's doing the Masters in Neuroscience, said, I'm understanding you more from my first term doing neuroscience, because no one has really taught about the bits of the brain. You learn about bones in your leg, and you learn about how muscles work and the four chambers of the heart.
Yeah.
But I reckon if I said to everyone listening to this podcast, name 4 areas of the brain and what they do, most people wouldn't be able to mention 4 areas of the brain and what they do. And you go, that's scary. It's the most important part of our body. Yeah. And we don't know what it's called inside. That's mad. Why is that being kept from us? It's almost like, well,
Yeah.
The masses don't need that information.
And like the
We
gut,
learn about photosynthesis
Yeah.
in plants, but we don't learn about our brain.
and back to the gut biome, we don't learn.
Yeah.
There's more and more stuff, and Miguel, who we had on the show
Yes.
ages ago,
Yes.
is really flying on Insta and doing loads of interesting stuff.
Okay.
And there's even more stuff coming out about the links between the stomach and the brain and your immune system and
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
the leaf
it's
cutter
a-
ants ferment leaves, don't they? It's very much like Korean kimchi fermentation.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Is that how
Yeah.
they keep themselves all fit and well.
Yeah, but they had little chimneys to take away the
Well,
dangerous gases
Well,
for
back
the
to the ants.
fermentation.
Before Amelia's, it's better be good email because we've teased the shit out of this. But the ants, they're not all kind of, why isn't, D-wing been built yet? Oh, kind of, they're all in isolation.
Hmm.
They've caught snivel,
Hmm.
or they've tested positive for the ant snivel,
Hmm.
so they can't build that. They don't do that, do they? Just get on with it. And I'm sure a few just kind of cark it on the job,
Yeah.
don't they?
But
And I bet they've even got burial chambers in that kind of complex
Yeah, or
infrastructure
or
of theirs.
Or something.
Or even
Yeah.
that's just sick, Mark, honestly. kids listening. Anyway, email.
Okay, so all this was, and this isn't as earth-shattering as I.
Oh,
No. What it is
is
some
this
balance.
is this part of her business emails? Or has she just sent you an email going, hi?
It goes out to anybody who wants to subscribe. It's mostly her clients.
I was trying to lead you into where can we subscribe to it? Or should we hear it first and then let's kind of, we'll get back to
Well,
it.
her
whether we
address
wanna-
is meals, MEELS, at mealspt.com. That's her email address.
Just give her email address to that, not the how to subscribe to her email.
I don't know how to describe it.
Honestly.
She can come back if she listens to this and she can do it herself. Right. So, the reason I'm reading this out is in terms of balance, because we said a little while ago we're not going to try and save the world and answer all the problems. I don't think we've done that. I think we've given an overview and gone, yeah, we're doing best we can. We're aware of things that are happening. We're raising awareness, but we're not going, this is doom and gloom. We're all going to be, 1984.
Yeah.
And I read this while I was doing a couple of minutes recovery on my gym set today. And she said, right, evening team, I've been reading a new book recently and I love it, Untamed by Glennon Doyle. I read a chapter last night about taking 10 minutes a day just to be, as in be. If you know me, this is Amelia, but I think the cat fits, her father as well. If you know me, I cannot just be. I cannot sit still and my mind is constantly on overdrive. However, today I took 10. I'm currently in Devon, and so I took the opportunity to sit on the beach. Sounds idyllic, but actually it was windy, rainy and cold. Nevertheless, I sat and I did nothing. I just let myself be. We're constantly rushing around thinking about our next task, our next weekend plans, what we're having for tea and what you need to do at work the next day. And if we are still, it is in front of the TV, scrolling on our phones or something similar. We never allow ourselves to simply be. So tomorrow, take 10 minutes to be. Find a comfortable space and just sit. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to think. Just sit and be. I've done it once, so I'm no meditation expert, but it was nice. It chilled me out, and it allowed my mind to be still for a small percentage of my day. Give it a try and let me know how you feel. And I read that, and I thought, I read loads of stuff on mindfulness and meditation, and it all seems too much. Doing nothing for 10 minutes other than just being aware that I'm me and I'm sitting doing nothing and not trying to meditate, not trying to be mindful, seemed like a nice balance to me sending you ridiculous texts at midnight. And I just thought I'm going to give that a go because I'm not doing my mindfulness and meditation because it almost feels too much to me. It almost feels... Yeah, I'm doing it from walking, but I'm not doing any of the stuff I learned on my course. But I'm thinking 10 minutes of just being, just feeling my body, but not thinking, consciously just not doing anything for 10 minutes. It'll be interesting. Yeah. And I think that the reason I read that out is I think that's in direct contrast to the flurry of everything. There's never a minute when something doesn't happen on the news.
Yeah, I mean, your point to that is you don't need to worry about what the point is.
Yes,
to those other things.
That's exactly the time. There isn't a point of just being be other than just do it.
I'm not going to find the answers necessarily. So.
No, so there's no expectations.
And if I did, I'd probably be let down and disappointed with them anyway.
Yeah. Well, if you find the answers in those 10 minutes, you've been thinking, and that isn't the point.
Yeah.
So I've got some content. We'll do that next time, shall we?
Yeah. So that's it for this episode. Well done for getting this far, and thanks for listening to us as usual. Remember, you can follow us on the socials by searching for imfinecast, and feel free to drop us an email at imfinecast@gmail.com. So in the next episode, Mark, what is your content?
My content is we're going to go back in time to the 70s.
70s.
And see how stuff was back in the 70s.
How many decades have you lived in? I've worked out I've lived in 6.
17, 18, 19, 0, 10. Well, 7, yeah.
Yeah. Mad, isn't it?
Mm.
I mean, I don't remember one of them, but
yeah.
But I was around in the 70s, so, and probably at the time where you're going to be talking about here. Was it 79, 80, or 70?
So the book is set the end of 1979 until September 79 till September 80. And interestingly enough, we had the big discussion on the debate of whether I ever saw U2.
Yeah. So I looked at the gig. The gig did exist.
It did exist. We found it.
You're just not quite sure.
And
exactly when and where.
I found
was
exactly
that right?
when and where now.
Oh, you have?
And it was where I said. So,
okay.
So, yeah.
Are you saving that till next time?
No. It was just that it's able to go in the novel, which was like
cool.
The research. This is the research I'm talking about. So some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about the 70s.
Yeah.
And just one little spoiler alert: one of the things completely forgotten was in the mid 70s in Bristol there was an IRA bomb set off.
That was White Lake. Was that White Lake or Park Street?
Park Street, bottom of Park Street, at a recruitment.
I've seen the picture of that.
Yeah. And again, you suddenly go, shit, that was,
shit was
different
real.
times, but it's like, so it's just going back and just maybe having almost like reminiscing, but going, how far have we changed and how far have we improved?
Oh, because you did talk about a few pods ago about whether it was better back then.
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about, you got rose-tinted glasses and things like that. And, the things that you didn't have. And I think you kind of I'm sure you mentioned on the pod that it was a time that wasn't good for you.
Yes. But was it a better time?
Was it a better time?
Yeah.
For lots of different reasons. But, okay. All right. We'll do that. So we'll probably see you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Bye.